Hello again, welcome to The Ref Show. Gary Megson joins the panel this week. Mark Halsey is here. Tell you what, as we congratulate Manchester City, Premier League champions, it's all about Gary's former teams actually this morning. He used to play for Manchester City, and it was the club you managed twice to promotions to the Premier League, West Bromwich Albion, who, without City playing, actually clinched them the title by winning at Manchester United.
Yeah. I'm sure that wasn't the main thing. They just needed a good result for Moro, and they've had an awful season, but it's it's a fantastic result. And the way the game went, and you're just talking off air. Then I'm watching it at half time, and I just thought I fancied West Brom to win, and 18-1 at half time, and I thought they were the better team apart from everything other than possession. But the games. People talk about how much possession the teams have had, and it's a big part of the game, which it is. But you have a look how much possession, and it doesn't very rarely equates to the actual result.
Great win for West Brom.
It was all about focus, wasn't it? Focus.
This is the buzzword of Darren Moore.
Focus.
Well, yeah.
Well, he's a great lad. I've refereed many times, Darren. Great lad, wasn't he? He's a great lad. Absolutely. And I was really, really pleased for him, because it looked like the players were playing for him as well.
And as we congratulate Manchester City, you have to pinch yourself, maybe you more than most, Mark, that, well, not many years ago, they were in the third tier, and there was a certain match at Wembley where they were 2-0 down going into stoppage time against Gillingham in a playoff final.
As I said before, if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't be where they are now.
Well, there you go.
I think there's a statue going.
You could say that about quite a few teams.
Yeah. You played just enough stoppage time for City to score twice, and then they go and win the penalty shootout.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff. We might be kind of nitpicking, but Paul Tierney's in charge of the Man United West Brom game, taking nothing away from West Brom. First half incident, challenged by Dawson on Herrera. Should Manchester United have had a penalty, Mark?
Definitely. I think I understand that if he was 70-30, he wasn't sure, and if you're not sure, you're not going to give it. But you've got to look at Paul's positioning. He's far too out wide. He's not going to see looking straight through a body of players. I just don't understand why referees this day and age are trying to get too far left and then coming in from behind. You're not going to see anything that goes on in that danger zone, what we call the danger zone, isn't it, Gary? He's got to be more central. He's got to be more to the right. If he's more central and a little bit closer, he sees that and he gives the penalty. Okay, but West Brom would be happy he didn't give the penalty, and it gives them a little bit of a sniff still, doesn't it?
I didn't think it helped as well, because I thought it was a Stonewall penalty, but the way that Herrera reacted, he made it less because he threw himself over, did a couple of pirouettes, but it was still a penalty, don't get me wrong, but he didn't just keep going and get tripped up, he threw himself over for some reason.
It's funny that Gary says that, because I'm an advocate that when you're fouled in a penalty, just go down naturally. Just why do they have to put these little throw themselves? If you tripped, you go down naturally, and I think you're far more chance of getting a penalty than if you're being a bit theatrical.
Just recently, we've been hailing some very good refereeing performances, sometimes without a referee sitting there. We've had ex-players and ex-managers, although this last weekend there have been some flashpoints, particularly with bad challenges, either not detected or punished sufficiently. Before we go on to those, Manchester City did what they had to do with a terrific win at Spurs by 3-1. John Moss was in charge of that. I just saw references to him, on the RefCam blog, struggling to get to grips with the pace of the game. Is that fair comment? Or?
Yeah, I think it is. He just seemed a long way away from play at times. He didn't sort of have that sprint in him, and he was just sort of what we call as a bowler, in a cricket terms, as a Tommy Trundler, just trundling around the football pitch. And I mean, I've been very praiseworthy of John this season. I thought he's been refereeing very well, but I didn't think that was one of his best games on Saturday evening.
City's penalty was awarded for a foul that clearly just outside the area.
Yeah, I have a little bit of sympathy.
He's quite a way off from that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, but he had a great view. Yeah. Could the assistant have come in and helped him? I think it was too far away, but the assistant wasn't in line, so it's very important that assistants get in line. And I think it was so quick, and you can understand why John had given the penalty, because it was right on the line. Yes, it was. The replays do show it was outside, And I think he was correct in cautioning Lloris for a reckless challenge.
Yeah, Ben Davies on Vincent Kompany in that game. Only a yellow card.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the game at the Etihad, there should have been 2 sending-offs with Dele Alli and Harry Kane at the Etihad. Yeah. And it's interesting because the last time I think John refereed Man City was at Crystal Palace when Jason Puncheon put that awful challenge in on De Bruyne, and he missed that one. And today and Saturday, I should say, he was in an excellent position, and he's got a great view of it. And I just think his recognition of the severity of that challenge wasn't what it should have been at that level, and it was definitely a sending off.
Yeah, they've got to get back to, I'm not saying they've got away from it, but there are things that go on a football field that are absolutely sacrosanct, and you can't tackle like that. No. Davies meant to catch it. Yeah. He wasn't going that way. He put his foot out to catch him. It happened
and to be fair, Kompany's, I mean,
he reacted quite well, didn't he?
Didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean,
he got the ump because he knew what it was.
It was an awful challenge, and it could have put.
But there was one at.
We're going to come to that. He's not the sort to overreact, is he?
No. Chelsea and Southampton, there was one as well.
Yeah, because there was a yellow card in this one, Gary. That nothing can happen retrospectively, but the one you're referring to, Southampton, Chelsea, Mark Hughes is calling for a retrospective.
Well, yeah, there should be, but that's what I'm saying. That inside the box, outside the box, just offside or whatever. Yeah. Those kind of challenges, we've got to make sure that just does not get back into it, because you just need a little bit of bad luck, and then somebody maybe getting broken legs, something really poor. Yeah. And you've got to really stay on top of it.
It's correct recognition of the challenge. I mean, going back to talking about the one at Southampton with Marcos Alonso, we talk about retrospective action. Now, if the FA deem that as a stamp and acts of violent conduct unseen by the match officials, which I believe it was unseen, obviously, because Mike's not done anything.
Mike Dean, this is
but then they can take action. But if they deem that as a challenge in a game that could warrant a yellow or a red card, the FA will not take action. They only take action if it's an act of violent conduct unseen by the match officials. Now, for me, that's a stamp, and that's an act of violent conduct, and that should go to the 3-man panel of ex-referees to look at that and see if he deserves a 3-match ban.
Alonso clearly stood on the back of Shane Long in the first half.
Yeah. But it's a lot more dangerous than throwing yourself over, trying to get a free kick, a penalty, whatever it may be, and then you've got the retrospective stuff after that. But those kind of challenges are like, everybody who's ever played football knows exactly what's been going through the player's mind. Yeah,
it could rule Alonso out. Not that this should matter in terms of the judgment, out of next Sunday's FA Cup semi-final between these two teams, Southampton and Chelsea.
Yeah, but that's as you said, it doesn't matter. It's like when you were talking about Buffon earlier, it doesn't matter the magnitude of the game, the time that the penalty was given. I thought it was stone penalty, me, but then all that stuff afterwards about that he's come out with and said, well, he shouldn't have given that because of the time and because it's a big game. Well, it's nothing to do with it.
Talking about that, we'll have our say on Gianluigi Buffon a little bit later on. It's irrelevant what it means to an individual, and we'll hammer him. By the way, we will hammer him.
But it will be interesting to see which way the Football Association, the compliance department, go with that challenge. As I said, I believe it's an act of violent conduct, a stamp, and he should have respective action against him.
Okay, Mike Dean was in charge of that. There's always a debating point. Often a debating point. He's a strong referee who, makes strong decisions. He just obviously didn't get that one.
I mean, he's been an excellent referee over the years, and this season, I don't know, it just seems something with his body language and everything about him just doesn't seem right. Now, my guess is when a referee goes like that, you've had a set to with your general manager. Perhaps that's what's happened. And
do you think there's something in the background?
I think there's something in the background that with Mike, and he just doesn't seem to be the referee he has been earlier in the season and seasons gone by.
That can go on between players and managers as well, which we don't know about, but it happens all the time.
But the thing is, he's still a top referee, and we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. I watched. I thought Michael Oliver's performance, in that was really, really good performance, and we've not got a referee going to the World Cup. And I really think that's bang out of order. Some of the stuff you see abroad.
Progression planning. That's the reason why that's happened.
Michael Oliver will get plenty of mentions later on and plenty of plaudits as well, by the way, when we come to that incident. Just rounding up Sunday's action, Anthony Taylor was in charge of a great win for Newcastle, terrible result for Arsenal. 2-1 to Newcastle. Tell you what, Rafa Benitez has done a blooming good job there, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done really well. Because start of the season they were a bit wobbly. They got 1 or 2 injuries, and you thought they're going to have issues staying up. But they've circled the wagons, and they've been terrific.
Rob Harris on RefCam suggested that Anthony Taylor was a bit too lenient, judging from his comments on there. There was just 1 yellow card in that. Well, that was for kicking the ball away. I don't know what your view was.
No, I mean, listen, you go looking for trouble, you'll find trouble.
And there was none.
I thought perhaps Arsenal possibly could have had a penalty for handball, where the captain, Lascelles? Lascelles, yeah, he's put his hand up. But other than that, listen, low profile.
Move on.
We like move on. Yeah, I like to see referees managing games and they work.
And forgetting their cards.
Yeah.
Don't take the cards out. I'm afraid.
It's a bit like Pete Walton did a few years ago at Birmingham City. Everton, Birmingham. Yeah.
Oh, Brian. Oh, crack. I don't think we've got time to go into that. Liverpool 3, Bournemouth 0. Chris Kavanagh, yet again, impressing youartheref.com. Guy Beale was blogging that game.
I thought
he's progressing well.
I thought he refereed very well. He's had a couple of games where he's refereed well. I'd like to see him in some really tough games now. But also, I think that they've got to give him more games. They give him a game and then they leave him out for 3 or 4 weeks. You can't do that in the Premier League. It's like players. You need the match practice, the match fitness, to get into those games. And same with Andy Medley. Andy Medley made his debut at Watford Bournemouth a couple of weeks ago.
Low-key game.
Yeah, but he refereed very well. Was looking at getting more young referees up to the select group 1, where it's no good just giving them 1 game and then putting them out for 4 or 5 weeks, and then bringing them back in again. We need to get rid of some of the deadwood that's in the select group 1 and bring some of these young referees onto the select group.
Liverpool storming to, it didn't play particularly well. They got another win. Mo Salah, 40 goals for the season, first time since Ian Rush, and he's got time to add to that. What a performance from him.
He's come on so much. He's an amazing player. Really is amazing. Yeah. And I've been chuckling to myself, with this stuff, because it's absolutely nothing to the football and the teams and all that. But suddenly the golden boots become a big issue because of what's been happening with Kane and Mo Salah, and it's quite funny, quite amusing, a lot of the stuff that's going on now.
Salah hasn't scored any off his shoulder, has he?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Did
he touch it? Okay.
I would have guessed that he has. Yeah.
I believe him.
But did you see there was
one?
one?
If he did then.
Well, that's it. Yeah,
there was one in the Grand National, wasn't there? There's a picture that somebody's taken, that's superimposed Kane's head just coming up on the line to beat Tiger Road for the National.
That's brilliant.
I'm pleased for Salah because he's my dream team. So
you're pleased for yourself, you mean?
I'm getting points galore. But it's funny. But just going back to him, I mean, Salah, when he was at Chelsea, tell me what's? I mean, he done nothing at Chelsea. No. He goes away. Was he at Rugby?
Just come back.
And then comes to Liverpool, and then all of a sudden he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Why couldn't he do that at Chelsea?
I must say though, you were a better referee towards the end of your career as well, weren't you? So it happens that you were as well.
Stop going back to Millwall, Blackpool all those years ago in 1996.
Okay, just a few Premier League games to round up and some Championship action as well. Before we come to all of that, the incidents of the week, and people might say, look, don't keep harping on about this. But we go back to the Champions League semi-final, dramatic circumstances in which there was a very late award of a decisive penalty to Real Madrid against Juventus. And Gianluigi Buffon reacted somewhat to what every referee says was a correct decision, a brave decision from Michael Oliver. Went berserk, got himself sent off. It seems to me there's a definitive issue for the sake of the entire game and for all referees at the heart of the way we all react to this.
Yeah, they've got to come down hard on himself and the other ones who were around it as well, because it was uncomfortable to watch. I felt so sorry for Michael Oliver, because when it was actually given, I thought it was a penalty. I don't know what the fuss was about, other than the time it was given, and obviously, like, it's such a big decision. It's nothing to do with Mike himself.
And the comments from Buffon afterwards, outrageous comments,
you can't
which
do
have
that.
kind of helped to contribute to or provoke these ridiculous messages on social media to Michael Oliver and his wife, including death threats.
Yeah. They've got to do something, not just to Buffon, to everybody there and the club as well.
Club, yeah.
It's,
What do you recommend?
Well, I don't know, but all clubs nowadays, they have press officers. So somebody there should be managing that situation, because it was like, really volatile. But the way
Well,
that
you
it was
could
done,
be as volatile as anybody, but
not like that. Not like that. That was bang out of order.
But not only that, I think the chairman of Juventus and Cellini have come out and said that he's taken a bribe from Real Madrid as well, and I think that's absolutely shocking. And we talk about it. And for me, UEFA have got to come down hard on Juventus and charge them, and we're failing to control their players. You have millions of children watching that game, and that is not the example that players should be setting to young people watching that
And
game.
Michael Oliver has been subjected, he and his family, for doing his job admirably.
But don't they have an association, the referees? Because is that right about somebody suggested he took a bribe from Real Madrid? Is that right?
They're implying that's wrong.
That goes beyond football, doesn't it?
That for me, that's down to UEFA to act and take Juventus to task, because, as you said, it was a very brave, showed loads of courage, and I think that UEFA will support Michael Oliver, because I thought he refereed the game really well. Yes, people say he's inexperienced, but that's because that's his first big game of that magnitude. But you've got, you either sink or swim. So they've got to put them into these games. And I think Michael will look back at that game, and he refereed very well. But there were one or two situations where I think he could have managed and rather shown a yellow card. But that comes down to the experience. In 6, 7, 8 games' time, he most probably won't caution those players.
Yeah.
He will manage it. But I thought he'd done ever so well. And I thought, what happened after giving the penalty? I saw it straight away, and I thought, like you, that's a penalty, because he's the wrong side of the player. How's he going to make a fair challenge from where he is? Can't get to it. No. But what happened afterwards? And I thought, Michael, go back to Andy D'Urso and
Roy Keane
all those years ago,
yeah.
And he stood firm. He stayed there, and he just brought out the red card. He had to pick someone, and Buffon was the one, because he's come charging out. And I just thought he remained calm, and I thought he was fantastic. I really did, and I think Michael's now our number one referee, and he's refereeing. He's got the West Ham Stoke game tonight, so it'll be interesting to see how he reacts on that.
He stood up for referees everywhere.
Absolutely, and Michael, well done.
Yeah. What I found unforgivable as a football fan was not so much the raving response on the field from Buffon, because you can understand his anguish. Yeah. But it's what he said afterwards, and his refusal since then to retract those outrageous comments. All he got to do was make a dignified apology, which he should do, in respect to the game of football and in respect to a referee who's unfairly suffering along with his family. That's all he's got to do.
He's got to stop digging, because he's in a hole, and it's getting worse and worse every time he refers to it, because he's done nothing. He's a terrific goalkeeper, been fantastic career, everything.
You know him?
I've refereed him a couple of times.
He's really let himself down, his club down, everybody down, and he needs to just back off now and just there's still time. Apologise for what he did on the pitch, and also apologise for what he said, because I don't think he believes that at all.
No, you can understand as referee, heat of the moment, frustrations, but and something snaps inside me. There's you just cannot accept that sort of behaviour. And as I said, I've refereed him on a couple of occasions. He's been one of the nicest guys. He understands the game. He can have a good laugh conversation.
And it's taken away as well, Mark. It's taken away from how well they played. They were fantastic. The team itself was fantastic. And it's just that at the end. I can understand, but it's just overshadowed not just that game, but him himself.
But Buffon's had a fantastic career, and now people are going to remember him for that game at Real Madrid, and playing for Juventus, and the way he went at the referee.
Yeah, it's a shame all round. Final question on that. Michael Oliver's a strong character, clearly. Yeah. Will he be affected by this? I mean, you've been at the sharp end.
Obviously, I've absolutely. I've had the same as Michael, obviously, with my family being threatened, my wife and my daughter. But you being a referee, you've got to be mentally strong and mentally tough. And Michael, that's gone. move on to the next game, and I'm sure he'll be fine tonight.
Okay, still some Premier League, but just Championship between Sheffield United and Millwall as they push towards the playoffs. It was a 1-1 draw. How refreshing here to hear both managers agreeing on a penalty call. Both agreed, Chris Wilder agreed with Neil Harris, that Millwall should have had a penalty late on Jed Wallace wrestled down. And you agree with them, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Neil Harris has done a terrific job at Millwall. He really has, and I think you're absolutely spot on. It was a penalty. I saw it. I watched it obviously as we all did on the Championship. You saw it live, and I thought straight away that was a penalty.
And Gary's nodding. Interesting.
I'm nodding because it's dead easy to say, "Oh, it was a penalty when it hadn't been given."
Yeah. Okay, interesting from Steve Morrison, who got Millwall's equaliser, who said after the game that he pointed out a lot of grappling to the referee, David Coote, and said to the referee, there's all this arm wrestling going on. And he says that Coote's reply to him was, well, look, if I give one, I'll have to give them all. To which Morrison said, I said, well, give them all then, and that'll stop it.
No, he gives them, okay, the little ones that goes on, that everyone expects a little bit of holding going on. The players will be the first to be in his ear moaning about giving a soft penalty. Well, there's no such thing as a soft penalty, but, giving something that perhaps...
So you're with David Coote on that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You give the obvious ones. Everyone says that is an absolutely nailed-on penalty. When they're hugging each other, or trying to make love to each other, and got their arms around them, and then pulling them, wrestling them to the ground, they're the ones we want picked up.
Yeah.
But didn't they start the season? But didn't they start the season saying they're really clamping down on that?
They did,
and then they do for 3 weeks, and then it all goes out the window again.
Talking about Mike Dean, he gave a couple of horrendous ones, didn't he? Weren't penalties.
Why do they do that before every season? We're clamping down on this, that, and the other, and then like 3 weeks later, it's all forgotten and carry on the way we've always done it.
Well, big game at the bottom of the Championship. Barnsley 2, Bolton 2. It was a busy day for Mike Jones. There were nine yellow cards in that game. And congratulations to Wolves, promoted back to I'm sure that the former manager of West Brom would like to heartily congratulate Wolverhampton.
They've done fantastic, but it's like, it just shows you at that level if you've got a few quid, and they have got a few quid, what you can do. And they like Fulham quite a few years ago, and City and bought the way out.
I don't think Neil will be sending his congratulations to Wolves, are you? Neil will not.
That's up to everybody, does it?
That's enough. We dealt with that last week. We dealt with that. Okay. I think so. Andy Davis was in charge of Wolves' 2-0 victory over Birmingham City. That must have been sweet for Wolves. Harley Dean was sent off for a challenge that Gary Monk said was just mistimed. And he said he's looking to have it rescinded, or at least he did following the game.
Well, I'm not so sure about that.
You're not so sure. Right. We move on. Finally, just a few Premier League games. Burnley are still bombing on for Europe. 2-1 victory against Leicester. Martin Atkinson presided over another victory for Sean Dyche's team. 2-1 against Leicester. Great game at the Palace. Andre Mariner. Palace 3, Brighton 2. Perhaps just the sort of referee you want for that sort of game.
Absolutely. I mean, Andre's so laid back. If he ain't more laid back, he'd fall over. But he controls the games. Everybody respects him. And well done, Andre, for a thrilling 3-2 5-goal thriller, I should say. Huge win for Huddersfield. Late goal from Tom Ince. Against Watford, Craig Pawson was in charge of that. I think the best thing about the Huddersfield-Watford game was the mascot. yeah. At the end. But they always seem to do that, don't they? Huddersfield always seem to be like, they're getting dragged into it, and then they go and get a result, and then they lift themselves out, and then it goes back, and then they just bring them out. So they've done terrific. They've done terrific, and with what they've done, the budget they've got, they've done terrific. Final game, Swansea won, Everton won, probably a fair result, I suppose. Lee Mason. A lot of criticism of Sam Allardyce. I'm from a distance, I'm struggling to make out what he's done wrong, because he came in to shore up Everton's position in the Premier League, and he's sure enough done that. Bottom three, weren't they, when he took over? I'm not sure, but they were certainly struggling. They got a decent result just before he went, but it's not the point. He was there to steady the ship, make sure it didn't go down. That's what he's done. Do you understand that? No, that's what I'm saying. At the beginning, everybody was going, that this is what we want to make sure that we don't go down, to make sure that Everton stay there. He does it, and now it's, we also want other stuff. Baffles me. Anyway, I'm often baffled. Well, I'm sure other teams would like Sam Allardyce, the teams that are down the bottom, I'm sure they would like Sam Allardyce. Fair point. Boys, thanks very much indeed. It's been excellent. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and of course there'll be another one from here next week. We'll see you then. Bye.